Hey everyone, Marsh from Consequence here. I want to go over Nexus-Princess. I'm not going to talk about Mythic, maybe for like 20 seconds at the end, that's it. We're going to focus on Heroic and kind of strategies that can translate into Mythic, potentially. So, not a lot of mechanics in this fight. Um, the first thing you're going to have is you're going to have an assassination mechanic where the boss is going to jump the players and it's going to leave a shadow and or a phantom, and it's going to give them Queen's Bane. Um, so Queen's Bane needs to be healed, and it's going to blow up, and a bunch of bullets are going to come out of the player, as well as, again, it's going to leave a phantom. So there's also going to be another phantom. That's the ad we're just talking about. They're going to be around the room. There's going to be a mechanic where they're going to target players, and it's going to move the phantom. And it's going to be like a huge red arrow towards that player, knowing it's on them. The boss is also going to do a grippin. If you get pulled to the center, you're going to die, and we'll see it in the video. Uh, just going down a little, just make sure you guys can see. Again, we talked about this. The Phantom's going to target someone, and they're going to jump to them. And then there's an intermission, which kind of slices the room up, and it's just going to be way easier to show. It's about movement and planning your movement, and how you do intermission. But the main takeaway from this boss is this Queen's Bane mechanic. Taking basically any damage in this in this fight is going to give you Queen's Bane. If you get Queen's Bane, you need to move out of the group. Because when you get healed, you shoot a bunch of stuff out of you. They might have changed it to timer, but it's timer or heal. It doesn't matter. You get out of the raid until you see bullets go out of you. That's just how it is. So that's going to be the big takeaway here. But I want to hop in the VOD, and then I want to hop into the raid plan. So actually, we'll go raid plan first. So again, this is going to be public. And what you're going to see here is in our VOD is you're going to see markers around the room like this. And you can see here we have 3 markers. So the idea is to plan around the suck constantly. Now, what the raid plan is going to indicate is what's technically optimal, but that doesn't mean that it's always going to be like that, especially on your first heroic clears. So we're going to talk about that. So you can see here, 3 players get affected, and they get Ghost, and then they get Queen's Bane. So they ideally want to drop them off in this kind of formation, and then the tank, and we didn't talk about this in the spreadsheet, the tank is going to take the boss out of the raid before the tank mechanic, and they're also going to drop something, they'll drop a phantom that's going to pull, and we're going to see that. So in this instance, the pull is all going to go to the center of the room, and we are good. So a little hard to explain, but yeah. So the other thing to note is with Queen's Bane is if you're a player here and you're the star, you don't want to go back in the group because you're going to have Queen's Bane on you. And this is a common problem in raid testing. We just said drop and move right. So you drop here, you move right. You drop here, you move right, and you drop here, you move right. Then you blow up in these spots, and then you move back center. One thing to note here is that the boss is supposed to be tanked in the center. So you'll see here, like, we're just indicating, like, okay, the boss is going to be taken out for the tank mechanic. But for most of the phase, it's going to be in the center, so you're not going to be outranging these players. So when the Ghost does its charge, the optimal strategy is to move the ghosts to the right. And to indicate this, if you can see that star is on you, you go to orange. If you see that orange is on you, you go to X. If you see the X is on you, you go to this, which is some other marker. We don't have it marked here, but so that is the big takeaway. And now the tanks want to shift here. So it'll be in the middle of the room, and then they'll move it here. So this indicates this is going to allow us, again, to have this formation where we're all sucked, and it's not out of control. 4 heroic first kills, and probably your first few kills. this is not going to be doable per se. You're going to have a player who doesn't know what they're doing. You're going to have a melee that can't make it and didn't pre-run or something. If you get that mechanic and you know you can't make it, just step out. Do not drop it in the middle. Do not like try to make it to X and you don't make it. If you can't make it, run out. Just run away. The reason for that is that the tanks can then fix the problem. So the worse the DPS drop, the tanks just have a harder job and it's less predictable for them. So let's say we had like one here, and then the melee got it, realized they can't run here because they're standing here and just ran like here or something. The tank would then take it here, causing like an equal power, sucking power, right? So that's just something to note is that the tanks need to identify what's happening and then react to it and then counterplay it. So again, you'll see here that this is, again, we're shifting. This is another example of just another shift counterclockwise. Let's not talk about intermission yet. Let's talk about the VOD. So this is a heroic VOD, again, Mythic. We did make it to intermission Mythic, but it's a completely different fight in terms of like what you do with the charges, and you got to put them through the boss and stuff. So I don't know how Clan's going to be on heroic. It's been a while since I've seen this VOD, but ideally we would be tanking in the middle of the room. And what you're seeing here is you see, I'm just going to point these out because we kind of, this, you can see this was 2 months ago. So what we're trying here is we had a drop here, and then someone ran really far away here. What they should have done is drop here, and drop here, and then the tank would drop here. But now the tanks are going to need to adapt, and you can see this is their tanking ability here. They're going to drop the portal, and then there's going to be a suck. But it's fine because it's heroic and the suck wasn't that powerful, and because the tanks recognized the situation, they were able to make it in a way that it was completely fine. You also see these lines. If they are red, they are on you. And again, this is what we're talking about with the shift. So if it's counterclockwise, blue should have technically gone to orange. This guy should have gone to X, and I can't see who has the last one. It's off the screen. It's here, but it looks like he's somewhere in the raid. Again, this is very early testing. We don't have a strat, but again, we want to move counterclockwise. But in raid testing, we're just like, okay, just point him away from us so we don't deal with it and take him far away. We didn't talk about this mechanic, but these are just dodge lines mechanic. And you can see here, this is the Queen's Bane right here. This is the portals. And then you get the tank mechanic after. But again, because we moved him to the outside of the room, it just kind of worked out. But someone could have easily died here. In heroic, it's a lot faster. So if you don't do it precisely, you're screwed. And remember, we're trying to build good habits. In Mythic, we're trying to build good habits for Mythic. So again, they're moving him here, and this would be counterclockwise again, but people are just taking him out of the raid. You can even see there's one here. You get lines, and look at all these people with Queen's Bane. These guys all need to run out of the raid, and you can see that. This is why Queen's Bane is so important. Let's take a look. So what basically happened here is this person wasn't paying attention, and they had the line, and they didn't notice it, and they cleaved everyone in this line here. So, all these people have Queen's Bane, and I'm probably, or someone's yelling in the comms, like, get out if you have Queen's Bane. Queen's Bane's going to expire here. And then they're all going to blow up. So it's not a healing, it's just well, I mean, you get a healing absorb, but it blows up off a timer. So, now we're going to intermission. And intermission is just about carving up the room. So you're going to get this pattern here. You're going to get these lines as well, these like fire act lines, these blaze lines. But you just kind of react to like what's happening. What I like to do personally is stand at the edge of one so I can just sidestep back and forth. Also, if you're closer to the middle, the amount of running you have to do is way less. So this is just like individual mechanical skill in predicting. But again, the tips would be stand near the edge and try to stand close to the middle just to reduce running. And then what's going to happen here is the shadows are going to go up, or phantoms. So we had 3 shadows, now we're going to 4, then we're going to 5, and then there's going to be enrage. So here we're doing it more correctly, except the guy in blue went far back. So you can see like this is right, this is right. This guy should have been here, and this should have been forward. But now the tanks are going to have to react to this. So you can see here, the tanks are reacting by pulling the boss forward. They're going to drop, and when it does the suck, it's not going to be a bad suck at all. And the Queen's Banes went off from the guys dropping. Remember, you drop and move right, drop and move right. So you might get out of range slightly, but it's okay for heroic. You're going to get here. I wish I had a range POV, but these would be red if they're on you. And again, you want to move them counterclockwise, but this was our first testing, so the people just took them out of the raid. But now the tanks are going to have to react to this, so you can see he looked around the room, and he's going to drop a rift where like he thinks it's not going to be terrible, and it was fine. So again, tanks can affect everything. So I'm going to go back to the raid plan. So you can see here we saw this, the blaze lines, the intermission, the carve it up. And again, just take away those tips. And again here, now there's 4 ghosts, so exactly what I was saying. Optimally you do this, but you can make it work if you mess it up. And then the tank would drag here, and it would be fine. And then you'd move it to the right, and then then you would change. The tank would go here after you shift everything. Intermission again. Then you have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the tank would fill in the open spot. You shift everything over. Shift it over again, and then this is the enrage. It just does this basically and fills up the whole room. So I'm gonna skip ahead here and see. Okay, so this they sometimes in testing they put the health up really high so you can see the whole fight. And then I'm just want to point out the I want to look at the 5 phantoms and the enrage. I think it was killable if everyone's alive, to be fair, but it was only had an hour for testing. Let me see if I can find it real quick. We can just look at this. This is fine. All right, so bear with me. It's gonna be right before this. All right, so you're gonna get these here, and you're gonna have 5 of them, and they did it right. So now there's gonna be 1 spot for the tank to go. The tank's gonna go here. You can see they're all here. And now this is optimal. So see, you kind of vibing, but the Queen's Bane people didn't run out, so we got destroyed. But again, 5 is going to be hard, so you want to make that Pentagon, and then do exactly like that. And then ideally you'd shift all these to the right, but we're just kind of taking them out. So the tanks are going to have to adjust here. I think they're going to take it here. Yep. But it's going to get really weird. And yeah. So other tips here. Movement speeds are really, really good for the sucks. If you have a ton of them, I would kind of stockpile them to the end of the fight, knowing like if you're looking at speed times for the first kill, having like a wind rush or a roar there can save people from getting one shot by getting sucked in. But again, they're going to shift over to the right every single time. And then we're going to hit enrage. So enrage is just going to do the intermission again, where it has the blaze lines, it carves up the room. You can see here, like if you have the blaze line, they're moving up and down their lines, just like Fire Rack, unless you have to move. It's the same concept. And then he's going to do this, which is the enrage, which he clears up the whole room, and only the tanks live, and they just like, it's our last pull, so he's just trying to see how long he lives, which is like a minute. So that is the fight, and the raid plan's provided. The big takeaways is Queen's Bane run out. Tanks can carry this fight if they see the Phantom configuration. Make sure you have some type of idea. At minimum, mark these corners and tell people to drop them there, and then have your tanks know they can carry the fight. That should be the absolute minimum. Um, One thing I didn't talk about, and there also might be a weak aura where it's like you put all the markers down, it tells you where to go, but we found it really easy without a weak aura. One thing I didn't talk about is the assassination mechanic. If you're like, I think it's under 10% health, the boss will just try to like one-shot you. So healers just need to watch that. You can't have anyone sit under 10% health for like more than a second or two. If not, the boss will just kill them. But yeah, have a plan. Understand that plan. Have your tanks know what they're doing. Um, if your tanks know what they're doing and your DPS know to take the Phantom here and to take the things out and um, take the Queensbane out, sorry, and then shift. Make sure these don't just like go in the middle of the room when they shift. You should be able to scrap a kill, but try to explain it the best you can. Sorry if I rambled this video. There's a lot going on with this boss, and a lot of minor details that can affect the performance of your raid. So hopefully this helps. That's all I have, and last two bosses coming out next. Peace.